You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk radio.
Welcome to Paralogian Universe, where all paranormal perspectives apply. Join paranormal historian and ufologist Kevin Malek and psychic demonologist Jennifer Malek as they navigate us through the different categories of the unknown and the unexplained, including ghosts and haunted places, cryptids and monsters, aliens and UFOs, theology and mythology, metaphysics, forbidden archaeology, urban legends and folklore, conspiracies, crimes, and corruption, with top analysis from the experts of these disciplines. If it's amazing, unusual, or mysterious, if it's bizarre, creepy, and fantastic, if it's unbelievable, paranormal, or supernatural, it's here on Paraversal Universe. Here are your hosts, Kevin and Jennifer.
Hello, everyone. Whether it's morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are, welcome to Paraversal Universe, brought to you by the Northern Wisconsin Paranormal Society Limited at the Northwoods Paranormal Resource Center here in Rhinelander, Wisconsin. We're your hosts, Kevin and Jennifer Malek.
Hey, everybody.
Paraversal Universe is produced by Kat Hobson, the voice of Fate Magazine Radio over at WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. We are also heard on WCET 101.7 FM out of Columbia, South Carolina, High Point Radio 100.5 FM and 1620 AM out of New Jersey, and the Rift Radio Network family out of Lakeside, Virginia. Welcome one and all, and hello to everybody in the chat room today. We look forward to your questions and comments as always. The archive for the show will be available as well. Show archives from over the years can be found in various places on the web, including our archives like page on Facebook called Paraversal Universe Show Archives. Also check out our guest promo page, Paraversal Universe Radio, for what's upcoming in the near future. We hope everyone's doing well, as always. Today, we're in the Midwest, and it's kind of stormy here, but so far so good. Today is the late May edition of the Paralogian Report, but first, as always, let's do our shout-outs. Shout-outs go to those people who shared our show banners last week. We appreciate it greatly and thank you kindly. Who do we have?
This week we have Walt Christos, Thoughts of Christos, Katrina Cooper, Rhodey Speak, Dennis Koch, Jason Bland, Paranormal Soup, Jamie Demelos, JJ Paranormal, Metaphysical Bounce, Howie Odell from the Orion Effect, Kat Hobson at WBHM, Lawrence DeMisa, Jean Broida, Lisa Reynaga, The Rift, Sudan, Lori Kreslaw, Jackie Joe, Elaine Dawes, Fate Magazine Radio, Trish Freudel, Jess Terrell, and Max Hawthorne.
Thank you, everyone. We appreciate it very much.
And, of course, a shout-out to everybody in the room.
Yes, in the chat room. It's always good to see you guys in there. As I said, this is Paraversal Universe and the Paralogian Report, which we do on an average of once a month. The Paralogian Report is a paranormal, supernatural, esoteric, Fortean, and exo-geopolitical fringe talk radio roundtable. Try to say that real fast. With news reports from various alternative outlets all over the world. Alrighty. For this broadcast, we bring you a panel of individuals who each specialize in different areas of the unknown and unexplained to give us a well-rounded analysis of reports we will present here on the show today. And let me introduce today's correspondents to you all. We have paranormal investigator and radio network owner Kat Hobson, host of the popular Fate Magazine Radio and Paranormal Experience. Hi, Kat.
Hi, how are y'all?
Doing good.
Good. I'm pleased to be here today.
And we're excited. We're glad to have you here.
Thanks.
We have cryptozoologist, Iroquois shaman, herbalist, and tracker Don Young. How you doing, Don?
Pretty good. Glad to be here.
Alrighty. And filling in for Tom and Jean, who are on assignment this week. Not together, apart, but is neuroscientist and hypnotherapist Dr. Chuck Kennedy, PhD, from the Project PSI Institute in Chicago. How you doing, Doc? Glad you could join us.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Alrighty. And of course, psychic demonologist Jennifer Malek, sit next to me, and myself, Kevin Malek, paranormal historian and ufologist. This is our panel for the broadcast. The concept is simple. One of our panel members will read a news article we have brought to the table, and then we'll go around the panel and share our perspectives concerning the story or topic. And that's all there is to it. So it's been a long while since I've led off. So I will lead us off this time. And, yeah. To start us off, we want to report that yesterday we received word that renowned Franciscan demonologist Ken Deal passed away. We knew Ken personally. We were dear friends. Ken was Jennifer's mentor in demonology. His wisdom in spiritual warfare was profound. We've had Ken and Farah on the show a few times over the years. And I used to correspond with Ken on Apocalypse Nation. Is there anything you'd like to say, Jen?
We'd like to offer our thoughts and prayers to the family at this time. Of course, his passing came to everybody that knew him at a great shock, and may you rest in peace, and may your family be, and your friends and all who knew you be comforted during this difficult time.
Yes, so prayers to Farah Rose, his wife, and the family. And I'm just going to take a moment and read a paragraph about Ken. Brother Ken Deal, R.I.P., of course, and Sister Farah Rose Deal, OFS, are Franciscans of the Third Order and work for the Roman Catholic Diocese of Springfield Cape for the Office of Spiritual Deliverance and Exorcism. As consultants, spiritual warfare counselors, field investigators, assisting exorcists, etc. They are also diocese certified chassists, marriage prep leaders, and are considered also for their work in evangelization to bring people to faith, along with the Office of Exorcism, to show people the true power of Jesus Christ through the church and its sacraments and tools of the church. The Sword of St. Michael, their worldwide extension of their ministry, working on international level with their work in the church. Education on these topics is a big part of what they do as well in educating laity, clergy, and the general public. They currently have 6 books published on spiritual warfare and related topics, including the Catholic Demonologist Handbook and the Christian Demonologist Handbook.
And both workbook and study guides.
Yes. So rest in peace, Ken. We were really going to miss you. And next up on the list, I wanted to clarify a statement I made during the Paralogian Report segment a couple weeks ago. And so we're going to revisit this. I guess this would be the equivalent of my first article, or the article I would bring to the table. I'm going to use that time to discuss some of this, and we can comment on it again. And that is, after we were discussing trespassing and urban exploring, I made a reference to something called the shape, but I wasn't clear about who or what that was. So I shall explain. There are YouTube channels out there who actively debunk fraudulent paranormal videos. One of those channels is called The Shape. That's TheShape. So go over to YouTube and check him out. Hit the subscribe button. He was one we watched who's been following this crazy scenario, which we were discussing regarding the trespassing, vandalism, and yes, faking of paranormal evidence a couple weeks ago. He called the charlatans out. Since we aren't going to name the names of those charlatans on air over national radio, because any PR can be good PR, if you go to YouTube and watch The Shape, he'll tell you who, what, when, and where. There are a couple other channels I want to mention who are debunking fake ghost videos of all kinds. The Crow of Judas. I'll say that again. The Crow of Judas and The Real Anonymous. The Real Anonymous. So go check those three guys out. Find out which pair of peeps are pulling the wool over your eyes. Also, since we're talking about debunking, please don't use Snopes, folks. Snopes may be right about 3/4 of the time. However, the other quarter is propaganda backed financially by the moral powers that be, the establishment, and their narrative. It's okay to be skeptical. Just don't cut yourself off from free thinking and doing your own research. So when it comes to that, we advise to steer clear of them. And on trespassing, when it comes to abandoned structures, it can be tough to tell exactly when, how, and which trespassing laws apply. For one thing, it depends a lot on where the structure is located, because statutes and enforcement vary by jurisdiction. The term abandoned also has a legal definition that doesn't always match the common use one. There's some very good clues, though, that can tell you if you're entering that old warehouse, or that can tell you if that old warehouse you're entering is against the law or not. Do you need to scale a fence to get in? You're trespassing. Is there some variation of no trespassing sign on the premises? You're trespassing. Do you need to break a padlock? You're trespassing. If you want to investigate somewhere, your best bet is to simply ask permission. And when the owners say yes, they usually share a ton of info with you, making for a better experience. And when they say no, move on. It's a large world. To the urban explorer's benefit, many of them do have a code of ethics. Move nothing, take nothing, and leave nothing behind except footsteps. I understand this concern because a lot of people out there want to vandalize. But that's not what most urban explorers do. Urban explorers like the history and the humanity of what is left behind for what is forgotten. Now, we respect that. Believe me, we do. But there is one problem. Trespassing is illegal. And so before you enter that abandoned building under the guise of urban exploration, consider this. Uneven, unstable floors. Always danger. Missing staircases and empty elevator shafts, broken glass, mold, mildew, and other possible environmental hazards, rats and other rodents, poor cell service, making it difficult or impossible to call should you need help, startling or scaring somebody already present, and if that's not enough, consider this: being arrested, booked, photographed, fingerprinted, attorney's fees, jail time, and hundreds, if not thousands of dollars in fines. Yes, it is illegal. Yes, it is criminal, trespassing. And most importantly, it is very dangerous. So use good sense that God gave you and be smart about where you go and what you do. Does anyone wish to comment before we move on regarding urban explorers, trespassing, vandalism, or faking evidence for views, which, of course, makes our community look ridiculous and unprofessional? So I will open that up to you all. Does anybody have any thoughts on? Okay.
I am a paranormal investigator, and I hate that these people wear that title. They are nothing but thrill-seeking junkies, and we've discussed this before. This is something that burns me up. These people go in there. I know of 2 old pre-antebellum mansions that have burned down in the South because of idiots like this. It is unprofessional. It is only done because maybe they get a thrill from running from police. Maybe they get a thrill of having to pick someone up out of the cellar after they fall through a rotted floor and getting to set a bone themselves if, they're all that. But it just is so not paranormal research. Not even close. And it just really chaps me that they get all this acclamation, and they do. People love this. They get so many hits. They get so much, fanfare for being criminals and people that don't even know how to do an investigation. I find it offensive.
Right. Doc?
Well, myself.
Well, I have to agree. And as I've traveled around the country, talking to groups and especially paranormal groups that call themselves so-and-so research group, they're not research groups. They don't have a clue what research is. They're adrenaline junkies that want to go into a dark building and scare the hell out of themselves. Mm-hmm. And it has nothing to do with research. And it just gives us all such a bad name. And there's no excuse for it.
Don?
Well, I myself, as a cryptozoologist, I've encountered situations where when I'm in the deep forest, large tracts of land, some of them may be private, some not, some may be public land. I may run into a situation on occasion where I don't have the time or ability when I'm in the deep forest and on the trail of some cryptid or some unexplained animal to leave the area to go and ask permission. So I myself have, on occasion, stayed on the track, stayed on the trail, and wandered right across private property. I've never come across problems or anything, and once or twice I ran across the owner, explained to him in a kind manner what I was doing, and he found it interesting and tagged along until I was out of his property. But for people to go into a facility or any kind of a structure, knowing that it could be private is just ignorant, because before you enter the premises, you have the option to search out the possible owner and ask them permission. On the other hand, if you're in the deep forest like I am, you may not have such a situation where you can ask someone if you can continue. Otherwise, you'll lose the track, lose the trail, and possibly not find what you're trailing. Okay, that's all I had to say.
I think there are exceptions to the rule, few and far between. But yeah, I hear what you're saying.
And I'd like to comment on this, and I will right after our first commercial break.
Okay.
You're listening to Paraversal Universe. This is the Paralogian Report. We will be right back with our panel after the next for the next segment.
You are listening to WPHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk radio.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... Nope. That'll do. Hello. I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Son of a...
Hey, son.
Mother...
Son, what are you doing?
Hey, Mom. I'm getting ready to listen to Periscope Uncensored.
By expanding your vocabulary.
Well, it is uncensored.
Son, the uncensored part of Periscope Uncensored is Jax and I getting down to brass tacks with all aspects of the paranormal. There's no fluff on our show.
So, no off-color commentary?
I didn't say that.
Awesome!
Son?
I just hit my head.
Oh boy. I'll go get you an ice pack. Catch Periscope Uncensored Thursday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern, only on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, Birmingham, Alabama.
Thank you for listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 23 minutes after the hour.
Welcome back from our first commercial break, everyone. This is Paraversal Universe, produced by WBHM Digital Broadcasting. Also heard on WCET-FM, High Point Radio, and the Rift Radio Network. We're your hosts, Kevin and Jennifer Malek. And we'd like to take a minute to thank everybody who makes Paraversal Universe possible, including graphics art director Lawrence D. Miza, music theme by Matt Stens, announcer Frank Lee, producer and owner at WBHM Kat Hobson, and also to Howie Odell and Lisa Renaga and the Rift family, and to Michael Vera at WCET-FM. Thank you all for carrying our content and working together on our behalf and the behalf of the audience everywhere. And of course, a huge thank you to God in heaven, whose strength beyond strength is stronger than all, for granting us this wonderful show and opportunity here to be with you all.
Amen.
And appreciation to all the various platforms we are on, including iTunes, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, Twitch, YouTube, Dailymotion, TalkStream Live, TuneIn, Blog Talk, Podbean, Google Play, Mixcloud, and Paranormal Radio Livestream app, which is streamed and restreamed from various other outlets all over the world via the internet. Alrighty, this segment of Paraversal Universe is brought to you by the Breezer Files on YouTube. The Breezer Files, that's Nick and Heather Breezer, paranormal investigator and Reiki master, and they have adventures, and they are part of the NWPS, and we want to put that out there because they just started a new channel recently, and so let's get them some subs. Alrighty. And this is the Paralogian Report. We are joined by fellow correspondents, paranormal investigator Kat Hobson, cryptozoologist Don Young, and neuroscientist Dr. Chuck Kennedy. And we were talking about urban exploring and some of the problems that have come up recently. Well, some of these problems have been around, of course, but recently some public figures got into some trouble, and it's really come to light as far as what some of these, these guys that they're going out, they're going into, they're trespassing, going onto property without asking for permission, and they're videotaping stuff. In some cases, there's minor vandalism going on. In some cases, there's major vandalism going on. And then they put it on YouTube, and I think that's part of the rush too, is that they want the likes. They want, some of these guys got like over 1 million subscribers. That's crazy.
I think what makes me mad about this whole entire situation is you have these channels out there that do this. Number one, they're not even really paranormal investigators, because if you go to places like we do, if there's no activity, there's no activity. We don't sit there and fake it and create voices and have people hiding in different parts of the buildings that they're in that are faking poltergeist activity. Right. And then, you go to these abandoned places with the context of urban exploring, there are no signs. That still doesn't make it okay for you to trespass. You don't know the conditions of the buildings. You don't know anything that could be hazardous there. You don't even know the type of people that you're going to run into. And when a lot of these people do that, it's like they don't care. And these particular channels that are out there, and these people that are out there, these groups that are doing it, now have the attitude where they're above the law and they can't get caught. And it's just like, I'm sorry, you do that, you're not only making it bad for yourselves, but you're putting ideas in the heads of your followers to go out there and do the same things that you're doing.
Well, that's what happened.
And when they can't find activity, they get mad and they trash the place.
Yeah. And another thing too is a nameplate. I'm sorry.
I'd like to add one thing. It's not usually just. I shouldn't say usually, but it's not always.
Oh, I wonder if it's the weather, because I just heard you glitch for a sec.
Maybe it's weather.
Like I said, folks, we had a
burst of storms come through.
The thunderstorms are coming through. It's the same kind of stuff that's been tearing up the Midwest or the Great Plains. So, but anyways, yeah, let's keep going, because the archive, if it's not major, hopefully the archive will be okay.
Can I chime in for a second?
Please.
Jennifer brought up a good point. These groups that have a huge following on YouTube or just a following on their team. To be a leader, you have to lead responsibly, and sadly, I've been a ghost hunter since 1969. So this year it's been 50 years that I've been ghost hunting.
Congrats.
And for the majority of those 50 years, nobody knew what the hell I was talking about. But then the TV show started, and now everybody out there wants to be a ghost hunter because they saw it on TV. And we are a nation, we are a society of followers. So if you're fortunate enough that you have followers on your YouTube channel, on your group or whatever, lead responsibly. For God's sakes, don't lead people to do stupid shit just because you're stupid.
No swearing, Doc.
All right.
Oops.
I apologize.
Okay.
But don't do stupid stuff. Don't lead people down the wrong path. And if you know you got people following you, lead responsibly.
Right, because they've had. There was one incident where one particular, and I'm not mentioning names because of these people, because I don't want to give them any more recognition and attention. But they went to into an entire whole abandoned neighborhood. Shortly after, they get contacted by a female subscriber and follower who went out to do the same thing, and she was attacked. And from what I hear, it was pretty bad.
Well, yeah, because they're going into, some of these neighborhoods are derelict.
Yeah.
They're abandoned,
right.
Abandoned structures. You're going to have squatters. You're going to have whatever, So, yeah, especially
Was
for anyone going out.
Physically?
Yes.
Yeah, she was attacked physically.
Oh, my word.
They never said
the best
it was
reason not to do it.
Right. They never said how bad it was, but from the way they said it, and you could tell by their tone, it was serious.
Another thing I wrote down, and Doc Kennedy made a good point, talking about nameplay, some of the names of these groups don't even reflect what they're doing. One of the groups, some of them have religious names. There's no, I mean, when you watch it, I'm not seeing piety. I'm not seeing anything that would warrant having names like that, or in like what you were talking about with like the word researcher or whatever.
Yeah.
If they're not doing scientific research, and and I guarantee they're not, and Doc's right, they don't, scientific research, there's a lot that goes on to it, and it takes a while, and it's not treated like how these guys are going out there and doing it. And I just wanted to point that out too, as well. That's pretty. So it's misleading, is what it's misleading, is the thing.
And it's dangerous.
Well, yeah. So there's a million good reasons, and like I said, when you ask the owners for permission, and like us at the NWPS, everywhere we go, we have to ask for permission. It's a protocol. We're a 501c3. We're expected to act professionally and responsibly at all times. And if we were to get caught anywhere, it would ruin our, trespassing. It would come out in the paper. It would ruin our reputation.
Right.
That alone is incentive enough not to do it.
Absolutely.
Not counting the 10 other reasons I think we named.
Right.
One of these days, I brought up last time, I think, one of these days, someone's, no, I don't think I did, maybe. So, these urban explorers are going to show up somewhere, and they're going to run into somebody who didn't know they were coming, and the person's going to be startled and scared. And, hey, that's how heart attacks happen. That's how,
Then they also have to, then you also have the other possibility of the owners being on property and being armed.
Yep, that's another thing. Good way to get shot. And incidentally, one of them was walking around with a gun. He had apparently a permit, which would probably be taken from him. I'm guessing. I don't know for sure. They have all these characters are going to court this month. We tried to find out the dates, but we got different dates, so we're just going to say this month. But yeah, and anyways, walking around with and talking about it, and one time, right, on one of their videos, they did come across someone else that they didn't know that was also there, and he told them he was a cop.
Yeah.
Well, that's impersonating an officer. They put that video out there. Guess who watched it? The sheriff's department.
Is that what got them into court?
Well, that was one of the reasons. It was that was part of the whole thing. That was like they all had trespassing, but one of them had extra.
Yeah, what got them into this situation in the first place was they went to some abandoned reception hall. And it just so happened that one of the people that was watching their videos...
Oh, yeah, we talked about it last week.
We talked about it last week. Knew the owner. And contacted the owner and said, oh, my God, you're not going to believe this. You need to go on this channel and watch this. These people are trespassing on your property. Yeah,
and then, of course, that guy knows a sheriff, calls the sheriff. The sheriff, realizes that these guys have a large audience and says, we need to set an example. So
good for them. For the sheriff, I mean.
So we have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 6 minutes before our next break. I'm going to let Jennifer take the next article. She picked a short one, so we can balance this out a little bit. I want to give Doc a full segment, and I want to give Kat a full segment.
Yeah, now when I saw this one, of course, I had to do a triple take because I couldn't believe it. And then I wanted to back my research to make sure this wasn't satire, and it's not satire. And this was published a month ago, and it's from an article from the Beaverton. Court rules that mansion's portal to hell not valid reason for buyer backing out of real estate deal. Vancouver. A BC court has ruled that non-disclosure of the existence of a portal to hell on a property does not entitle the purchaser to a refund of their deposit if they chose to terminate the deal. The home inspection report clearly indicated the presence of a stable fissure in the space-time continuum leading to another plane of reality. Judge Julia Hammond said when making her ruling, once made aware of the existence of such a fissure, the onus is then on the home buyer to determine the endpoints of interdimensional portals before signing the closing documents. The BC Real Estate Association estimates that at least 33% of detached homes in Metro Vancouver and 10% of condos contain portals to other worlds, but approximately half of them led to high fantasy realms and increased the value of the property. Portals to hell are a niche feature. It's true. A local realtor, Arnold Lee, admitted. They're more popular with horror movie loving millennials, but unfortunately tend to open when the wealthy make pacts with demons and are therefore mostly found in inexpensive homes which millennials can't afford. So we're seeing a glut of very high-end homes with portals to hell on the market. The buyer in this case, Lucy Prescott, is furious with both the ruling and what she says are the deceptive circumstances that led to her purchase of the home. There was clearly a cover-up going on during the showings to mislead buyers like me. There was no wailing, there was no screaming, there were no oppressive sense of existential dread and physical terror coupled with pseudo-sexual thrill at the idea of living beyond the judgment of God. This was real estate fraud, plain and simple. The BCREA have tips on their website for home buyers looking to avoid purchasing a property with an unwanted portal to hell, including asking if there is a portal to hell on the property.
I love it. Anyone want to comment?
Yeah, because I'm just laughing.
I don't know if I can.
Well, I guess I'll go first. Wow, right? Yeah, I know each state is different as far as disclosure, as far as hauntings go. Some states honor hauntings. Apparently, in this case, it was not honored. But I do agree with the statement. There's a higher percentage of, we'll just say, when they implied, well, they're talking about millennials versus like the rich and the elite, and we know the rich and elite are in secret societies and all that kind of thing, which involve what? The occult and everything else. So yeah, so when they said that, that resonated with me. I feel like that is possible. I know it's, as far as like, a lot of the haunted stuff, are mansions, are fancy, big places and castles and this and that. And so yeah, that's all I have to say on that.
Okay, I do want to say something. I just had to get my cough under control and my giggle. But in New Orleans, if you're walking down a street and you see an apartment for rent sign, it says haunted or not haunted. 9 times out of 10. If you are in New York State, if I'm not mistaken, enacted a law saying that if your property was haunted and you did not reveal that prior to sale, that the sale could be negated. Because this is happening in places. What gets me a little bit relevant to this Vancouver experience is the percentage of various portals that they seem willing to just go out and say, why, yes, we have so-and-so and so-and-so, but not quite so many portals to hell. Well, a portal's a portal. You don't know where that's going to go. It's just, I saw that article, and Jen, I thought it was satire also, and was shocked to find it's not. I was just blown away.
Yeah.
You have a case now where portals have been discussed by law in courts. That's interesting.
Right. But
That's interesting.
You also have to look at what they're lying about and what they're not lying about. All right, and with that, it is time for our next commercial break. You are listening to Paraversal Universe. This is the Paralogian Report. We will be right back with our panel for the next segment.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, Birmingham, Alabama.
Thank you for listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 45 minutes after the hour.
Welcome back from our second commercial break. This is Paraversal Universe on WBHM Digital Broadcasting. Also heard on WCET-FM, High Point Radio, and the Rift Radio Network. We're your hosts, Kevin and Jennifer Malek. Before we get back to the show, we want to tell you all that we're on Twitter as NWPS. We're also on MeWe as Paraversal Universe. Our like and group pages on Facebook are under various headings as well. Having said that, check out our Society's like page on Facebook, the Northern Wisconsin Paranormal Society Limited, as well as Jennifer's like page, Jennifer Malek, Psychic Demonologist. Leave a like if you like what you see. We always appreciate it. And there are some Facebook group pages we want you to check out. If you get a chance, the Ultimate Conspiracies group page is one. And the Lake Monstrosities group page is another. Lake Monstrosities. Feel free to join them both. We'd love to see you there. Each network mentioned has a group and like page on Facebook as well. So check those out for upcoming content. This segment is brought to you by the book Trail of the Sasquatch, A Shaman's Journey, by cryptozoologist and Iroquois shaman Don Young, who is with us today, who is also a member of the NWPS. Check out his Facebook group pages, Kindred Forest and Indigenous Americas. And check out Jean Broida's book, Unknown Objects, Top 10 U.S. UFO Cases. Of course, Jean is not with us today. She's one of the correspondents who is off at a Paracon right now. So she's having fun, I guarantee it. Alrighty. Any comments for this week's show can be addressed live in the chat room. And let's get back to the show. This is Paraversal Universe and the Paralogian Report, Fringe News and Analysis. And for this segment, we are going to pass it over to Dr. Chuck Kennedy. Doc, what do you have for us?
Well, at Project Psi, for the past couple of years, we've done a a relatively small study looking at psychics and mediums who have chronic conditions, basically autoimmune diseases. For example, now it was a small study. It was only about 700 mediums, but we found that 43% of them had fibromyalgia. Well, in the general population, only 2% of the general population has fibro. So why do 43% of mediums have it? 28% of mediums have chronic fatigue syndrome. 8% have rheumatoid arthritis. 21% have Hashimoto's. And all of these are down around in the general population to 0.5% to maybe 3%. But yet we see these huge increase in mediums and psychics. So I wanted to look into it deeper. And so starting Monday, you'll see all over social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, I'll be posting a link where psychics and mediums can go answer a survey on the Project Psi website and identify your gift and what kind of condition. And I call it chronic condition because there's a lot of conditions that are just now being recognized as autoimmune disease. I talked to a psychic last week I've known her for 40 years, and she tells me, yeah, I'm psychic, but I don't have an autoimmune. And I said, but you've got severe asthma, and asthma is triggered by allergic reactions. And allergic reactions are antigen-antibody reactions, which are by definition an autoimmune condition. And she goes, oh, yeah, you're right. So we want to look into this. Now, this is going to be a two-step process. Part of the survey asks for your email address. And the reason for that is after you identify your gifts, whether you're clairvoyant, whether you're a remote viewer, whatever your gift is, and then you identify your chronic condition, what I want to be able to then go back to is identify at what age you developed your gifts or noticed your gifts. Maybe when you were 7, you knew you were different. You didn't know why. What age did your chronic condition develop? And what treatment are you getting for your chronic condition? Does that treatment then affect your gifts? And then also, what things that trigger your autoimmune condition, how does that affect your gifts? And I'm hoping to get 3,000 to 5,000 psychics or mediums and really get into this deeper. One of the interesting things, if you're a psychic or medium, take the quiz anyway, take the survey. Of the 700 I tested before, 87.3% had an autoimmune diagnosis. Now, this is a confirmed diagnosis by a physician. But 13% who were undiagnosed just because they didn't have health insurance or they never had time to go to the doctor, but they had a chronic condition, it just wasn't diagnosed. 10% of them went through the symptoms and expressed that they do have the symptoms of an autoimmune condition. They never bothered to seek treatment. So I really want to dig into this deeper. I feel that a big part of this, mitochondrial DNA is passed down the familiar line. Now we know from that 700-person study, 96% of psychics are female, 4% are male. We also know mitochondrial DNA passes down from your mother to your daughter. In nuclear DNA, there's 13 loci. Usually 7 are from your father, 7 from your mother, and that gives you actually 14, which includes your gender. Now, mitochondrial DNA, Kat and Jennifer, your mitochondrial DNA is identical to your mother's, identical to your great-grandmother's, identical to your great-great-great-great-grandmother. This DNA stays the same and gets passed along. And in the earlier stage, primarily get passed along the familiar lineage. And so we want to dig into this deeper. I want to get to the bottom of it. I truly think there's a definite link between autoimmune disease and gifted abilities. And I then want to, once I get that data collected, we then want to dig deeper. I shouldn't say we, I'm here alone. I want to dig deeper and get into how this develops, what actually goes on that causes this to pass along, and why an autoimmune disease either triggers, and it's kind of a what came first, the chicken or the egg. Did the autoimmune come first, or did the gifts come first, or do they kind of run parallel and they developed at the same time and they come and go at the same time? So I think this will be a huge study it's the first of its kind. There's a facility out in Tucson, Arizona. They noticed the same pattern that psychics and mediums have a high tendency towards autoimmune disease, but they didn't take it any further. And I think we're in the new millennium. It's time to take this further. Let's find out what the link between autoimmune disease and gifted activity is. And so that I'm starting that Monday. So watch for that notice on social media.
Amazing.
That's awesome.
Alrighty, let's go around the table. Don, why don't you go first? We haven't heard from you in a bit. You're a shaman.
Yeah,
Do you have any opinion on this?
Yeah. A lot of that I didn't hear because the phone was kicking in and out, but I got the gist of it. As a shaman, I've dealt with a lot of situations where spirits and stuff like that have made the individual sick. Also myself, when I pulled them into myself, I've myself been sick for a few days. So I can greatly see that any kind of psychic abilities drawing in any kind of negative or spiritual energy can have a physical effect. It's interesting, and I'd like to hear more when he finds out what he can from people that contact him.
I agree. I think it's fascinating. I love the research you're doing, Doc. We need academic research in paranormal, and that's exactly what you're doing. Hats off. So the one thing I thought was of trans-channeling. And psychics and mediums who trans-channel a lot, they say that they age quicker and that they have more internal damage to the organs and body. So if that's true, that goes hand in hand, right in line with both what Don said and what Dr. Kennedy said. And yeah, so that was my thought. Kat?
I'm sorry. I was caught. I couldn't hit the button.
Oh.
But what I find interesting about that is that I had Graves' disease, was treated with radioactive iodine for that, and have since moved into hypothyroidism and Hashimoto's. And it is a confirmed case of Hashimoto's. There are a couple of other things applying in there too. Doesn't keep me down, but it does affect me. When my abilities, including poltergeistic activity happening around me, was the strongest, was when I was actually in the ramped up hyperthyroidism of Graves' disease. I was not diagnosed until I had a child, and I was diagnosed because I had a second child, and I had tremors and such. And when I went to a doctor, I was talking to our pediatrician, who said, I'd like to get you into the nuclear medicine department over here, and let's check your thyroid because it feels monstrously large. So I was one of those people they set on a stool outside the nuclear medicine department so the residents could come feel my throat. It was really quite an unusual situation based on their reactions. When I started balancing out, the activity around me lessened, but my abilities to know things did not. And now I've never been tested. I do not bill myself as a psychic. I know things I should not. I understand things in people that a lot of people don't. But I've never told anyone I'm a psychic. It's just really something that is a gift. I use it for good. But I do know that my abilities deferred based on the status of my TH levels. So I find that really interesting, Doc. I think that I am going to look forward to this research.
Yeah, I know.
Well, I hope to have everything completed by the end of the year. And
that's ambitious.
We're then putting it out in a white paper for the scientific community. One of the interesting things about it is there isn't a lot of research on autoimmune diseases because 74% of people who have autoimmune disease are women. And the medical community for decades looked at when women came in complaining of this and complaining of that, they were whiny women. And the whole healthcare community for women's needs is just so far behind. When a woman has a heart attack, she's described as having atypical chest pain. Well, atypical, that means if a man has chest pain, it's typical, but if a woman has it, it's atypical. Right there, that just shows how the bias against women are. The whole term hysterectomy for the removal of the uterus is because for more than 100 years, the uterus was considered the origin of hysteria. And so women have just really been given the back seat to healthcare so much. And in your case, the thyroid is so important to regulating all the systems in the body. It's really time that women's healthcare is looked at. And because most psychics are women, most autoimmune diseases are women, we need to look at this and take a really clear look and see what's going on.
I agree. Okay. I'm fortunate that my physician now is an integrative health MD who is female. And
okay, everybody. Oh,
awesome.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I was going to say it's time for our next commercial break. This is Paraversal Universe. You are listening to the Paralogian Report. We will be right back with our panel for the next segment.
Deep red on Wall Street. Lisa Brady, Fox News. The Dow down 355 points at the closing bell. The S&P and the Nasdaq also down over 1%, ending May with a sell-off blamed on trade and tariff concerns for the most part after President Trump targets Mexico over immigration.
We'll continue to call on Mexico and take actions necessary to see to it that Mexico does their job to ensure that this mass exodus and humanitarian crisis comes to an end.
Vice President Mike Pence defending the move to hit Mexican imports with tariffs beginning June 10th. They'd be 5% at first, possibly rising to as much as 25% by October, though some fellow Republicans are concerned. Senators Chuck Grassley and Joni Ernst, both from farming state Iowa, emphasize they share the president's immigration concerns, but they warn the tariffs could jeopardize efforts to pass the new trade deal with Mexico and Canada. A power station in Arkansas shut down for now because it's in danger of slipping into the Arkansas River after a levee was breached overnight.
And the water was gushing through so violently it actually ripped up a portion of this highway.
Fox's Matt Finn in Dardanelle.
As this water continues to expand, it is wiping out farms. We have talked to several farmers already who say they've had complete devastation, total crop loss. And the National Guard tells us it cannot fix this broken levee, so it's sandbagging canals in this area and trying to direct the river away from the populated center of town of about 5,000 people.
Meantime, reports of another levee leaking near Little Rock, and with more rain in the forecast next week, flooding remains a concern for neighboring Oklahoma as well and other parts of the central U.S. along the rising Illinois and Mississippi rivers. This is Fox News. The only abortion clinic in Missouri stays open for now. Fox's Jeff Manasso.
Planned Parenthood St. Louis abortion clinic will stay open after a temporary order from a judge there that blocks Missouri from letting the clinic's license expire past a Friday deadline. Planned Parenthood sued over non-renewal, claiming the state weaponized the licensing process. Republican Governor Mike Parson earlier this week said it was a patient complaint that sparked a months-long investigation into the Planned Parenthood clinic, which state health officials call a health hazard with a history of botched abortions and malpractice.
Again, Planned Parenthood accusing the state of using the licensing process against it. Reports of a jailhouse confession in Houston, where a civil rights activist says the stepfather of a missing 4-year-old girl told him today that he did kill her, but that he claims it was an accident. He initially claimed he'd been assaulted and abducted as well earlier this month after stopping to check a tire on the way to pick up the girl's mother from the airport. Now, Houston police are not confirming these reports of a confession, but there's word that searchers are now headed to Arkansas, where the stepfather claims the body was dumped. Former Army intelligence analyst Chelsea Manning is renewing her effort to get out of jail.
In court papers filed today, Manning's lawyers asked a federal judge to reconsider his decision to send Manning to a Northern Virginia jail for refusing to testify before a grand jury investigating WikiLeaks. Manning had said she believes grand juries are an abuse of power. She could remain jailed for the length of the grand jury term, which is 18 months. Manning spent 7 years in prison for giving secret information to WikiLeaks before then President Obama commuted her sentence. In Washington, Rachel Sutherland, Fox News.
Recapping the sell-off on Wall Street, the worst May since 2010 overall. Today, the Dow down 355. I'm Lisa Brady. This is Fox News.
Welcome back to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 5 minutes after the hour.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back from halftime. This is Paraversal Universe, produced by WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. Also heard on the Rift Radio Network out of Virginia, WCET-FM out of South Carolina, and High Point Radio out of New Jersey. We're your hosts, Kevin and Jennifer Malek, coming to you from Northern Wisconsin here at the Northwoods Paranormal Resource Center in Rylander. You can always enjoy excellent fringe talk radio for awesome and informative radio shows about the paranormal, supernatural, esoteric, and Fortean topics on this network and affiliate platform websites. Not only our show, but many other good shows about different facets of the unknown and unexplained. Much to listen to and much to enjoy. Stream live on TuneIn, iTunes, or the Paranormal Livestream app, available from Android app and the iTunes Store. This segment is brought to you by the Supernatural Magazine, where our articles can be read. And back to Paraversal Universe and the Paralogian Report, which covers news, history, and analysis about topics from the fringe recesses of the world. With one of the most diverse and experienced panel presentations found on Fringe Radio. And today we are joined by cryptozoologist and shaman Don Young, paranormal investigator Kat Hobson, and hypnotherapist and neuroscientist Dr. Chuck Kennedy from the Project PSI Institute in Chicago. Alrighty. So, when we went to break, we were discussing the last article, and Jennifer had some comments she wanted to make regarding what Doc was talking about.
Right. And what I wanted to say was I think it's wonderful. I think it's amazing. I think it's about time. And when that quiz comes out, I will definitely be participating because I think this is awesome. And I commend you very much for your efforts and what you've done and what you're doing.
Well, you're on the team, kiddo, so I'm not going to let you slip by. By the way, when I say she's on the team at Project Psi, we have a team of remote viewers that find missing and abducted children, and Jennifer has been actively involved. To date, we brought home 54 abducted children, and a lot of that work was based on Jennifer's work. So I applaud you, Jennifer, and thank you for being on the team.
You're welcome, and thank you for putting this together, because if it weren't for you, none of us on your team would be here doing this.
You guys row the boat. I just navigate.
I must say, you have one elite psychic team. Honestly.
Oh, yeah. We are the most elite team of remote viewers on the planet. I talk to other remote viewing teams, and they go, well, you can't find a person. And I go, that's because you told yourself you can't. But we started out that way, we trained that way, we practiced that way, and we brought home 54 abducted kids. And I've got 54 families that'll tell you you're wrong.
That's awesome.
Amen.
Amen.
I love that.
So, Kat is up next. What do you have for today, or for us today, Kat?
Well, I am always fascinated by ufology. I don't see how people can not believe in it based on things that we see nowadays. You know, it's right out there. The government has owned up to putting millions into a study, working on it. Luis Elizondo has left the Pentagon's Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program to go work with To the Stars. It's really fascinating to me that I'm going to just read this. This is actually from Live Science. I love Live Science. I was going to read the actual New York Times article. It was a little wordier, and I have something I'm going to put behind this. So, this is the former leader of the U.S. government's top secret UFO program has stories to tell, and he is sharing some of them for the first time in a new documentary. Intelligence officer Luis Elizondo served as the former director of the Pentagon's Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, an initiative launched in 2007 to study reports of UFO encounters. Elizondo departed the Pentagon in 2017. That year he spoke with reporters at the New York Times, confirming the existence of the shadowy government agency, as well as describing its mission. Now, Elizondo is pulling back the curtain on his tenure with ATIP, which he left because of a lackluster official response to the agency's findings, and their unwillingness to address potential risks from UFOs, according to the new show Unidentified Inside America's UFO Investigation, which happens to be premiering tonight on History. No, there isn't a big reveal that UFOs were alien spacecraft all along, but delving into long-hidden accounts of the UFO investigations will hopefully encourage people and authorities to overcome long-standing stigmas and talk more openly about these mysterious aircraft, some of which may pose a threat bigger than we realize, Elizondo told Live Science. UFOs have perplexed and fascinated people for decades. They also pose a unique challenge to federal agents trying to determine if they represent a threat to national security. Before ATIP, the U.S. Air Force had launched Project Blue Book, which investigated more than 12,000 purported UFO sightings from 1952 to 1969. And anyone who listens to me knows that I say that actually was the beginning of disclosure, because while they touted the number that had explanations, very little is given to the over 700, if I'm not mistaken, that did not have an explanation. That's my aside. During Elizondo's tenure, reporters observed UFOs flying at hypersonic speeds, more than 5 times the speed of sound. Yet there were none of the signatures that usually accompany aircraft flying at such fantastic speeds, such as sonic booms, he said. The UFOs were also unexpectedly mobile, traveling so fast that they would have experienced gravitational forces, or G-forces, that far exceed the limits of endurance for both humans and aircraft. The F-16 Fighting Falcon aircraft, one of the most maneuverable in the U.S.'s arsenal, reaches its limit at around 16 to 18 Gs, while the human body can withstand about 9 Gs for a very short time before a person would start to black out, Elizondo said. These things we're observing are pulling 400 to 500 Gs. They don't have engines or even wings, and they are able to seemingly defy the natural effects of Earth's gravitational pull. Some of the UFO sightings reported to ATIP were eventually resolved as aerial drones or test firings of new types of missiles spotted from an unusual angle. But while many astonishing UFOs still defied explanation, there simply isn't enough evidence to suggest they belong to extraterrestrials, Elizondo added. However, another possibility is even more unsettling than the prospect of an alien invasion, that a foreign adversary has secretly developed technologies that are strategic game changers, unlike anything ever seen before, he said. Addressing that potential threat is a necessary step that government officials, even those that have supported ATIP, don't take seriously enough, according to Elizondo. What's more, the entrenched secrecy shrouding official UFO investigations only reinforces the association of UFOs with tinfoil hats and ridiculous stories. We trust the American people to know that North Korea has nuclear warheads pointed at Los Angeles, yet we don't trust them with the knowledge that there's something in our skies and we don't know what it is. That seems counterproductive to me, Elizondo said. I agree. I think that they belittle the American populace by thinking that people don't have any idea that this is happening. And I would like, with the panel's okay, to share a piece written by my personal friend who is a really neat ufologist. He's a numbers guy. He is retired from Honeywell, and he's just brilliant. He's written several books, and his name is Tom Comwell. This piece is called Where is the Shock? Okay?
Okay.
And this was shared today by Tim Comwell, and I felt that it needed to be here. The New York Times has all but said it. The Washington Post has said the same. Fox News is brimming over with reports of strange sightings, and MSNBC has picked up the stories and ran with them. UFOs, unidentified flying objects, may be ours, or they may not belong to us. Either way, these things are so bizarre that they should have the general population screaming from the rafters. What in the world is going on here? Where's the shock? Where's the outrage? Where is the unending curiosity? There are three scenarios that must be considered: ours, extraterrestrials, and interdimensional beings. Number 1, ours. Where did this technology originate? How much did it cost? Can this tech be used to make our lives better? If not, why did we spend the money on research? Is the military advantage gained from this tech worth it? Aren't we the best military in the world? Do we really need to get 5 times stronger than any other country? In this country of crumbling infrastructure, insufficient electrical grids for the 21st century, rampant pollution, changing climates, world hunger, and countrywide bankruptcy from health care, isn't there a better way to spend our money? If it's number 2, extraterrestrials, what are they doing here? Why us? Are they crashing? If so, are we recovering their technology for our own use? Can this technology be used for the good of our people? How long has the government known about this? What other things have you been holding back on? Are you holding out on tech that can save lives? What are their lives like? Do they have a religion like us? How long have they been visiting? Are they taking our citizens? Can they speak our language? Have you been or are you presently meeting with them? Why didn't you tell us? If they could help us, why didn't you let them? Did you use their tech for your own good or the good of your friends? Did this tech allow you to make money off it? Explain to us why you should remain in office when you actively withheld help from fellow human beings. Shouldn't you resign? Tell us why you shouldn't go to jail. If it's number 3, interdimensional beings. Do these people live with us and next to us? Is this what ghosts are? Do they know about ghosts? Do they walk among us regularly? Can they just disappear? Can they live alongside us without us knowing it? Can they see us when they're invisible to us? Can people like psychics or empaths pick up on their presence? These are not helpful scenarios. Once the question starts, the floodgates will swing wide open. No matter how this comes down or who is ultimately responsible, it will not go well for the people in the know, meaning the government. Why are there people not caring about what is happening right under their collective noses? We can never expect that everyone will share this opinion, but the news industry, meaning all TV news stations, magazines, newspapers, politicians, and local media, should have their hair on fire with the possibilities. Something big is likely to happen, and it will be earth-shaking. If you haven't started yet to pay attention to this phenomenon, it may be time to start. Your life is about to be rocked to its core. At least get on board so you can see this through. Some of my opinions have been influenced by some authors in their book, AD, After Disclosure, by Richard Dolan and Bryce Zabel. That closes Tom's piece. I agree with every bit of this. Why are people not having their feet held to the fire? Why is all of the political crap, which is exactly what it is? It's same day, different Kool-Aid, just the colors changed, not the flavor. You know, this is serious. This is documented.
It is very, and on that note, why don't we continue this discussion after these commercial breaks? You are listening to Paraversal Universe. This is the Paralogian Report. We will be right back with our panel for the next segment.
You are listening to WPHM Digital Broadcasting. The best in paranormal talk radio.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... Nope. That'll do. Hello. I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Son of a...
Hey, son.
Mother...
Son? What are you doing?
Hey, Mom. I'm getting ready to listen to Periscope Uncensored.
By expanding your vocabulary.
Well, it is uncensored.
Son, the uncensored part of Periscope Uncensored is Jax and I getting down to brass tacks with all aspects of the paranormal. There's no fluff on our show.
So, no off-color commentary?
I didn't say that.
Awesome! What?
Son?
I just hit my head.
Oh boy. I'll go get you an ice pack. Catch Periscope Uncensored Thursday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern, only on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, Birmingham, Alabama.
Thank you for listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 23 minutes after the hour.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back from our commercial break. This is Paraversal Universe, produced by WBHM Digital Broadcasting. Also heard on WCET-FM and the Rift Radio Network. We're your hosts, Kevin and Jennifer Malek. Before we get back to the show, we want to take a quick moment to specifically mention the radio call dials for the AM, FM terrestrial radio stations who carry Paraversal Universe during this segment, including WCET, which is located on 101.7 FM on your dial out of Columbia, South Carolina, and then High Point Radio, which can be found on 100.5 FM and 1620 AM out of New Jersey, which broadcast in New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania. Hello to all of you who are tuning in over the airwaves. Thank you so much, and we are glad you are with us. This segment is brought to you by the Parasociology like page on Facebook. Parasociology is the study of how paranormal manifestations and experiences can affect a family, group, or collective. Parasociology also examines how different spirituality is practiced in different cultures. So go check that out and leave a like for future content. All right, back to the show. This is Paraversal Universe and the Paralogian Report. And we are joined by fellow correspondents, paranormal investigator and producer Kat Hobson, cryptozoologist and Iroquois shaman Don Young, hypnotherapist and neuroscientist Dr. Chuck Kennedy from the Project PSI Institute. And so Kat had just read an article on ufology, and we were going to go around the table. Did you have anything else you wanted to say before we pass it around, Kat, regarding that?
I do want to give credit where it's due. This was written by my friend Tom Conwell, who is a ufologist and an author of multiple books. He is a feet-on-the-ground person. There is not a lot of wish-wash there. He doesn't really elaborate on facts. So I just wanted people to know that Tom Conwell was responsible and wrote entirely that second article. So there's that.
Okay. Well, I'll go first. There was a few things I wrote down while you were writing the article, or reading the article, I'm sorry. The first thing I wrote down was different kinds. And you had mentioned that you can't believe that people don't take it, or some people don't take ufology more seriously. The thing is, there's so many different kind of aerial phenomenon. It's not all nuts and bolts. And there's a lot involved with ufology, including meteorology and astrology.
No.
Astronomy, I'm sorry. And knowing your aviation, your identified flying objects, and then all the side things. It's based on scientific method. Anyways, so yeah, as far as UFOs, you can ask 100 different questions just on what did you see? Yes. Did it flutter? Did it spin? Did it blink? Did it pulsate? Did it appear solid? Did it affect a vehicle? Did it affect an engine? Did it affect a timepiece? Did it affect your radio? Did it ascend? Did it descend? Did it wobble? Did it cast? And
all of those apply. But I think what he's referencing is the fact that we have trained naval and Air Force aviation experts in the air flying equipment that is the best that we have to offer, who cannot even come close to keeping up with these things, and they have no comprehension of how the physics is working that these craft are maneuvering in the manner they are.
Exactly, that's exactly
that talking to the people that are, I saw it through the trees, and it did this, versus the other witness that says that. We now have military documentation from aviation experts on the behaviors of craft that are not ours, that these experts are not familiar with.
Right.
So that takes it to another playing field. In my opinion, it does.
That's what that was my point, is that there's so many different things going on that we can't explain. All the things I named are stuff that our craft doesn't generally do. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And there are so many different kinds or possibilities. And the second thing I wanted to point out was, as far as people taking it seriously, they're going to have to know, because it's now an academic science. You can take college courses now at certain academic institutions and colleges. So, and I'm glad for that. It's awesome. And along with that, there is some paranormal when it comes to ufology. So you have that element. For example, aliens walking through walls. If that's not paranormal, I don't know what is.
Yeah.
So, and
then
the
lends toward the dimensionality.
Right. So they mentioned 3 kinds. Interdimensional, which to me means anything is possible.
Yep.
Okay. The extraterrestrial. If they're getting here, they would have to be using wormholes. So we were back to possibly interdimensional travel. Well, I don't know. But be that as it may. And the other thing I thought with extraterrestrial is that, to me, I also I believe in the hollow Earth too, and I also as a ufologist, I'm aware of many USO reports. That's unidentified submergible objects, and so there could be we don't know where they're coming from, and they could be coming from all of the above, because we speculate there's different races coming from different places, and then of course ours. When you talk about our UFOs or the UFO technology we have secretly, or it's either coming from reverse engineering, the stuff that we get that we're, or it's being handed down to us through bloodlines that go all the way back to Sumeria. And, and that ties in with the ancient astronaut theory and the Anunnaki and all that stuff. So them are my thoughts on the article.
I'm glad you shared those, because I agree with you. I think it's a fascinating subject matter that's changing.
Oh, right. In fact, next week we're going to have Dr. Joseph Burke on. That's going to be a good one.
That is going to be a good one. I can't wait.
I can't either.
Yeah. How about you guys? Do you have any thoughts on the article or anything I babbled?
Well, just on something that you had mentioned, Kevin.
Yes.
On their ability to be here. I kind of go with the other article that was mentioned about the trespassing with the portals all over in the buildings.
Oh, right.
Now two people of a layman, same as myself, who says that they have to be portals to hell? Maybe they're portals to another world out there. Maybe you're alien portals. But to anyone that would see something like that, or any kind of a being that does not resemble our own species, coming out of a portal, would automatically be demonic. That would be our psyche, or our psyche, to all of a sudden say, "Oh my God, that's got to be the devil." And here, all it is an alien coming through it.
Right.
That's a great point.
And like, for instance, when we get ufology reports at the NWPS or at the Wisconsin UFO Research Team, or the UFO Wisconsin Research Team, for some of the we'll say more disturbing ones, sometimes you got to assess whether it's actual alien oppression, or if it's demonic, if it's a demonic masquerade. Because if, let's say, somebody likes sci-fi movies, and somewhere along the way they open up a door by something they said, jokingly, or maybe they were doing rituals, or who knows what, and they start having dreams or these experiences, I should say, about being abducted. And they think, wow, this is cool. This is, aliens, and I love aliens, and this is great. And they open themselves up to that, okay? And if they haven't opened a door before, they really have at this point. Because, next thing they know, all of a sudden, things aren't going the way it was at the beginning, right? And they're like, wait a minute, this wasn't it wasn't cool like it was when it first started out. Because as these cases go along, sometimes the invasion gets worse and worse and worse to where it's terrifying, or at some point where they realize, wait a minute, I'm not so sure this is alien anymore. This could be demonic. So, that's something that we look at, and it's got to be assessed,
Right. I mean, there was a case that I came across during my demonology studies, which cites this instance perfectly. It was a woman who was into aliens, same as, Kevin described, always wanted to see one, thought it would be the coolest thing in the world. One night, she's asleep, and she gets woken up to sleep paralysis. She is looking around the room. She notices that 6 small grays come through a wall and part ways. Shortly after, a taller gray walks in. The first time she had this encounter, she thought it was just the coolest thing ever, until it started happening night after night. And it frightened her so much that she actually called and reached out to my mentor. And she explained what the situation was, and he goes, it could be alien. He goes, it could be demonic. He goes, there's one way to know for sure. And she goes, what's that? He goes, the next time this happens again, if this happens again, try and say Jesus' name as loud as you can. He goes, if these things do not react, he goes, then you're probably dealing with an ET. He said, if you say Jesus' name and these things react, then you know you're dealing with something demonic. So she thanked him and she hung the phone up. Same night, 3 a.m, same scenario. She gets woken up by the 7 beings coming in the room. After what she said seemed like minutes, she was able to yell Jesus' name out loud. She said as soon as she did that, the taller one looked at the smaller ones. They hissed at each other, hissed at her, and took off through the bedroom wall, and she never had another encounter again.
Holy wow.
Yeah. Turns out that these were demonic entities masquerading as grays.
Yeah, and that's documented, I believe, in the Demonologist Handbook. One of them.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, and for that, I mean, that's one of the reasons why Jennifer is on the UFO Wisconsin research team. Because once in a blue moon, we'll have a case where, hey, it'd be really nice to have a demonologist, opinion. So, anyways, yeah.
That is not something I had been aware of. I'm so glad you shared that.
Yeah, actually, the book that it came in that I have is called the Catholic Demonologist Handbook.
Okay.
It's in there. It's listed in there.
Doc, You are versed in this as well, Dr. Kennedy.
I think there's several factors here that triggered me. One is when people say there's no such thing as a UFO. And I have to laugh. And I go, UFO means unidentified. A lot of these things are later identified. So, yeah, there is a UFO. Does that mean it's alien? Does that mean it's demonic or anything? No, it's unidentified. It's that simple. And people get all freaked out about, there's no such thing as a UFO. No, I can understand where you want to say you believe there's no such thing as aliens, but you can't say there's no such thing as a UFO because it's just an object that's unidentified, and those are real. As to what they are is a whole other topic. And then one of the other factors is dealing with demons and doing exorcisms. I've had clients come to me and they say, I've got a demon in my face, and they did an exorcism and it didn't work. Well, it's kind of like, I spent 38 years in healthcare, and I'd have clients come to me and say, I've got this infection, but I took an antibiotic and it didn't work. Yeah, that's because it's viral. Antibiotics don't work on viruses. In many cases, if you've got a mean, nasty spirit in your house and you're doing an exorcism and it doesn't work because it's not demonic. It could be the spirit of an alien. And that's not a true demon. So people use the wrong approach to so many different conditions, and then they don't understand why it doesn't work because they do these self-diagnosis things that just are not accurate, and then they don't understand why it doesn't work. I think the other thing, the government's starting to talk about it. I know I did a show about 2 years ago where I said the government is going to slowly come out with, well, we're seeing things we don't understand. We're seeing things that could be from another world. And they're going to slowly announce that aliens are real, but they just don't think the public could take it cold turkey. So they're going to present it over time and slowly get the public to get used to the idea. And I think that's some of what we're seeing here is they're starting to show acceptance to ufology and get the public to accept it. And I think it'll be a much wider open subject in 2 to 3 years, and it'll be talked about a whole lot more. And then a lot of the things that the government's investigated will come out. But that's just my thought on it.
No, and you know what? I completely agree with you. If you look at it now, it's getting to the point where people are having so many reports of UFOs that they're getting to the point where they can't cover it up anymore.
Yeah.
And everybody has a camera.
Right.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Because I remember back in the late '60s, I was at a big festival in Chicago, and we saw this object in the sky that was moving very strange, and so it made the newspaper the next day. But back then nobody had cameras, so there weren't real pictures of it. And now, like you say, everybody's got, a 12 megapixel camera on their phone, and a lot of this stuff is getting captured. They just can't hide it anymore.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. And with that, it is time for our commercial break. This is Paraversal Universe. You are listening to the Paralogian Report. We will be right back with our panel for the next segment.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, Birmingham, Alabama.
Thank you for listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 45 minutes after the hour.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Paralogian Report. Let's see. Produced by WBHM Digital Broadcasting. Also heard on WCET-FM, High Point Radio, and the Rift Radio Network. We're your hosts, Kevin and Jennifer Malek, and we're glad you are with us as always. Alrighty, this segment is brought to you by the 5-star Reader's Choice Award winning epic fantasy trilogy, Helm, by Robert L. Malek. And we're going to get right back to it. This is Paraversal Universe and the Paralogian Report. Okay, and I have an article I will read next. This article is, I thought this was really interesting. It's a short article, but this was something that I personally wasn't aware of before. And it's amazing how we learn stuff all the time. We never stop learning. No matter how much you think you know about something, you'll learn about something and be like, wow, really? I didn't know about that. And this was one of them things for me. And I thought, wow, this would be really cool just to share. Rarest of rare, black deer spotted in Michigan. Okay. And this is from KWQC. I'm guessing, and this is a NBC station, TV6. Okay. Bolero, Michigan. KWQC. John Roach was traveling about 150 miles north of Grand Rapids when he spotted a creature he spotted a creature he never thought he would see. As I looked out to my left, I saw 2 deer in the lane that runs to the back of the property. Nothing unusual, except that one was typical and one was pitch black. He posted to Facebook along with the photo of the spectacle. Melanistic deer, as they are known, are considered the rarest of the rare, according to the North American Whitetail website. Even more uncommon than an albino whitetail. A genetic mutation creates the color variation by causing the body of a malignant deer to produce too much pigment known as melanin. And that's all there is to this article. But a black deer, I mean, right, I'm amazed. So I got to go to Don for this one. When I say black deer, you being a cryptozoologist and a shaman, what comes to your mind?
Well, it's rare, that's for certain, but a lot of animals are starting to change because of human overpopulation and encroachment. You'll notice that, like the most popular animal out there that is suffering from the black fur is, I'm sure everyone has seen one. It's the squirrel, the gray squirrel. There's a lot of the black squirrels now running around. The albinoism of the animals doesn't always start as an all white. You'll see some deer and animals will be partially white. They'll have segments of their fur will still be brown. But then with genes, the next generation will have one that's all white. Now that will pass out. There's actually an island not too far away that actually has all, and there's another one over in New York, I believe. It's an island with all white deer. They're all albinos. And I believe out of that, the stronger trait is the albino, And once in a while now, out of the albinos, you will get the melanistic. It's a fluke, is what it is. It's nothing unusual. The DNR has made it illegal to shoot an albino. They've also made it illegal to shoot a melanistic deer. It's very confusing to some hunters because they'll see a white deer and it'll have some brown on it. So they don't know whether or not they can shoot it. But if it has any brown on it, it is open for harvest. But yeah, and that is, in effect, a cryptid. The black deer, or any species that is not of its common appearance, or its species appearance, is a cryptid.
Very cool. I bet, seeing a deer, a black deer, in different cultures may even mean different things. Things represent things.
Like spiritual meaning.
Yeah, spiritual meanings.
Yeah, just like in the native world, the white animals, or the albinoism, was a great spiritual warning, a great spiritual coming of either disaster or greatness to whoever's seen it, like the white buffalo and stuff like that was revered as a sign, and that would be the herd they would follow because it would mean greatness. The sign of a white crow, on the other hand, was doom. That was just the whole tribe was going to be wiped out if they seen a white crow. So
wow.
it all reflects on different tribes too, different cultures, I should say.
Right, because there's so many. Kat, do you have anything that any thoughts on the black deer?
I really, I am not a cryptid person, but I do live in a region where deer are prevalent. They are hunted to thin their population so they don't starve to death here. And they actually put them in the zoos and stuff, trying to give them environments where they can survive. But with all of the places I've been, I've never seen even a dark brown, much less black deer. But it stands to reason that it must be doing something to help with its camouflage, self-protection. There's something going on with that.
Right. Well, they say the albinos, I read, also become bigger targets in the wild because they don't blend in. The black deer would blend in just so nice, especially at night.
Yeah.
Well, as a shadow. It would be a shadow. You wouldn't have that light brown up against the greens. No.
So if anyone ever reports a shadow deer, I think I know what it might be. Although
I have actually seen a shadow deer.
Well, there are ghosts of animals.
I actually did. It was very bizarre. It was running alongside the road, and it should have hit me, but it did not. So I'm not sure what that was, but I was thankful it didn't.
You told us about that before. Yeah. That's right. And ghost of animals, for sure, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
We hear about, battlefields where you got people on horses. You have dogs and cats. I don't know how many homeowners have claimed that they have their a dog or cat ghost in their house. And we have one.
Now.
Well, the same thing goes for sea life, if you think about it. Say, for example, you're out dolphin watching, and a dolphin comes up and breaks the surface. Normally, you would hear it. You don't hear it, but you see it before it goes back under. Maybe it doesn't even go back under. Maybe it disappears after it breaches. So, yeah, I mean,
they do make noise. People don't realize it, but they do.
Right.
It's interesting, speaking of haunted, or speaking of spirits, and speaking of water. It's funny how we went from the black deer, now we're in the ocean. But some divers have reported that there are certain spots of the ocean where there are spirits under the water. where they encounter spirit activity. And they're haunted dives, basically.
Right.
I mean, not dive as in the sense of like a dump, but a dive as in like scuba diving.
Right, dive sites, right.
Well, yeah, because basically the ocean, the Great Lakes, that's a big graveyard.
We have wrecks about a mile off the coast here that people dive, and I don't think I would do it.
Well, when a ship goes down, they always say so many souls were lost. And I always wanted to find those souls. About 5 years ago, I built an underwater robotic for ghost hunting. It had video and two-way audio.
Oh, cool.
And when I was living down in Missouri, there's two of the big lakes in Missouri, Table Rock Lake at Branson and Lake of the Ozarks, are Army Corps of Engineer rivers that have dammed up and created these lakes 100 miles long. And when they dam these rivers and they flood these valleys, there's towns in these valleys. There's a town called Oasis at the south end of Table Rock Lake that was completely flooded. And next to the church is a graveyard. And the graveyard was flooded. Now, according to Army Corps of Engineer regulations, if they can find family members of the grave and get permission to move the grave, they can move that grave. Otherwise, they have to leave those graves there. So I used to go out there, and when I did my ghost tour in Branson, I would play the EVPs from Table Rock Lake, and I'd take Neptune, which is what I named my underwater robotic, and I'd put it over the side. It'd go down about 60 feet, and I'd get video, and I'd do two-way EVPs over this graveyard. And it was really cool. And you have to remember, sound travels 5 times farther underwater than it does through air. So I'd get some great EVPs, and it was a lot of fun. And I'd talk about being out there in a boat. And in reality, I was out there in a canoe with $3,000 worth of computer equipment. Well, the speedboats would race around me trying to tip me. So it wasn't as much fun as it sounded, but I got some great underwater EVPs.
I think that's brilliant. That was a great idea.
Yes, that was.
You guys, this has been a very, very cool,
informative,
awesome Paralogian Report. We've come to the end of our show for today. We got 4 minutes. So I would like, we'll start with Doc. Can you share links where people can find you?
I'm at projectpsi.com. Now, psi is spelled PSI, but the P is silent. It's like pneumonia or a pterodactyl. The P is silent. Projectpsi.com. And I've got all my research. I've got classes for CSI Psi if you want to learn to be a remote viewer and find missing children. There's links for that. And check me out.
Awesome. Don, you're up next. Where can people find you and all that?
Well, my main website, which is my business, my books, everything, can be seen on replures.webs.com. And that is spelled REPLURES.webs.com.
Alrighty. Kat.
Yes, she of the Insanity Pets. I am. I'm everywhere. I'm everywhere you want to be. I am. You can get in touch with me through Fate Magazine, www.fatemag.com, and if you want to subscribe, that's the place to do it. You can get in touch with me through paranormalexperienced.com. That's past tense, www.paranormalexperienced.com. I have old shows there. You're welcome to go and listen to those. I am also on Facebook as Fate Mag Radio. I am Paranormal Experienced with Kat Hobson, also on Facebook. I am www.wbhm-db.com for this network. You can also reach your host through that address as well. And I am just always interested. If you have a story you want to share, if you have an experience that you observed, I'm always interested. Reach out.
Awesome. And you can find Jennifer and myself here at Paraversal Universe, also at the NWPS, or at nwiparanormal.com. Alrighty. We'd like to thank our correspondents for being such awesome panel today. Next Friday, we will talk to ufologist Dr. Joseph Burks. So don't miss that. Feel free to support the network mentioned here tonight, any of the networks mentioned here tonight, as well as the Northern Wisconsin Paranormal Society Limited, 501c3 nonprofit organization, by donating. It's folks like you who ensure that these excellent organizations and networks will be here tomorrow. To the believer, the evidence is overwhelming.
And to the skeptic, there will never be enough.
Thank you. Good night. God bless you. Have a wonderful weekend, and we will see you here next time.
Good night, everyone.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting. The best in paranormal talk radio.